enable.
We started recording our
Yes,
conference.
yes, the recording started. Check your sound, enable sound in your gadgets if you connect with a mobile phone, etc. You may type your questions in the chat. We shall answer your questions in the next break between the parts of our presentation. Well, and today we're going to talk about our latest 7th generation, the series of our modular platform systems, which are represented in our expert range with the models AS9 and B9 series. Both are Pro packages and equipped with the 4G LTE modem. How many guests we have at the moment?
23. So 20 guests, 21 guests.
Okay. I think we're going to start with our presentation and let's go on. Well, generation 7 level up. What we have with this Gen 7? Let's view these 7 advantages, 7 benefits of this platform. First of all, digital interfaces, 3CAN and 4LIN. Well, you all understand and you can see that latest vehicles become having more and more digital interfaces, more and more CAN buses and LIN buses. That is why it's becoming a must-have to integrate these interfaces in the most advanced systems, which are Starline R. In this generation, we have 3 CAN interfaces and 4 LIN interfaces, which are dedicated to have the most possible and available functionality when we install our system. For example, in the latest BMW G series, when we have keyless Go system lock via CAN, CAN C. Or for example, in the latest Volkswagen models, when we have ICANN, digital engine blocking the third CAN bus. Or for example, the recent Peugeot and Citroën models, when we should connect the third CAN bus to have either data mobilizer bypass or activation of the climate system. Or for example, some Japanese and Korean vehicles, when the third and the fourth LIN bus are used to control some comfort features like comfort windows closure and sunroof closure. So we have to begin integrating all these interfaces to have to be able to have all these features in our systems. Well, next one is our mobile connection interface. Here in this system, we integrated 4G standard modem. Here we have SIM 7500 modem, which supports all these 3 standards, 4G LTE, and the downgrade support of 3G and 2G. And also 2 SIM slots are available, so you may install SIM cards of 2 different operators. These SIM slots will operate in dual standby mode. So the system and the model detects the most stable, the most strong network at the moment and connect to one of it to provide the most stable connection and control of the system. The next one is buzzer. In previous generation, previous systems, we were able to connect in this external buzzer in some units, but now it's already inside. So this buzzer duplicates the signals which were previously sounded applied by the external siren or the horn. So most of the signals which were previously notified by sirens, such as entry to registration mode, configuration mode. Also, it shows, it helps user to understand in immobilizer mode on which stage the system now operates. It also duplicates push in the button sequence for the pin code and etc. And in third part of our presentation, my colleague will show how to configure all this functionality. Next one is new tech. I mean, this one, housing. You of course understand that this new tech housing is available with the rest of our present range. But we should say that it's the default part of these packages as well. The next one is external microphone. Well, in these new main units, we will have one more new connector to plug external microphone, which allows you to call and listen what is happening in the cabin of your vehicle once you are somewhere outside, or you shared your car to drive to somebody, and maybe even if it's stolen. So you call, you activate a microphone, and you may listen. New, good, and I think convenient option. Of course, you have to check if this option corresponds to your local legislation. Next one is the unified firmware and settings. What does it mean? Well, when you install very popular S9 systems, of course you can see that you may use firmware update and the configuration files for all the packages you have, S9 Echo, S9, S9 Pro. But if any of you were installing previous 6th generation of our modular series, B96, AS96, maybe A96, you might know that those systems required to have separate files for the firmware update, for the configuration settings files, and so on. Now it's all unified. Unified main unit, unified firmware, unified settings. You may make configuration file for any of these models, save it, and get use of it for any further installation. I think it's quite useful. And the next one, the flexible logic programs. I think some of you remember that in 6th generation, up to 15 flexible logic programs were available for most of users, most of installers, and up to 50 for the authorized installers, which have specific authorized installer account. I mean, you log in installer master and you have some additional functionality. So in this generation, we have up to 60 flexible logic programs. I'm pretty sure it's quite enough for any your ideas and projects. But if you got no authorized installer account, so anyway, you will have 30 programs. It's quite enough as well. Okay, and here you can see the pictures of the main board and some parts of this main board. And let's take a look on these features right on these pictures. Bluetooth Smart. Maybe some of you remember that in previous 6th generation, in the very initial versions, we had a separate optional model for the Bluetooth, just a separate board which were inserted, as I remember, something in this place. So when you installed, for example, B96 with a radio interface with a two-way remote, you just didn't have a possibility to use a Bluetooth. Then next version will be upgraded with a separate optional model of GSM plus Bluetooth. It was also a separate optional model which were installed in this place and combined GSM model and Bluetooth. Today we understand that Bluetooth is another one must-have interface. That is why we fully integrated it in the main unit and in the main unit board. So it's always in default. Digital interfaces of connecting to vehicle buses, 3CAN and 4LIN. You may see all these controllers which are already placed on the main board. Buzzer. You may see this buzzer. So it's also placed on the main board, and you may configure whenever you use it in which modes and which particular events it will notify the user. Microphone. This one new connector is exactly dedicated to connecting external microphone to listen the vehicle interior. And the built-in relays. It's not something new. Previous generation also were having these relays, but we wanted to stress your attention on it this time as well, because it's one of advantage. It's one of the difference between our modular series and our popular S9 series, because these relays allows you, for example, control central locking with the direct connection, or the turn lights, hazard lights, with no use of any external relays. But as well, you may use it to perform a remote start without installation of our optional power relay models. So you just configure these relays, for example, to enable ignition one, accessories, and the starter, and that's enough to perform a remote start while your project implementation. Well, let's take a look at another one slide. Here we can see this model structure of this platform, of this series, and again you may see some difference between previous generation, because in fact only 2 optional models are now used, available, as most of the rest features are already integrated in the main board. So in AS9 Pro model, we have one optional model with the cell modem, with the GSM modem, which is SIM7500E. So this modem has, as I said before, support of the three standards: 4G, 3G, and 2G, and has two SIM slots. So one on the upper side, another one is under the PCB on the opposite side. By the way, please be noted that this exactly is an export modification with the two SIM slots, because in Russia we have specific domestic modification which has only one SIM slot, and another one is a SIM chip for the Russian carrier MTS. That's the difference. And in B9 package, we have another one model, which is radio transceiver, and of course the two-way LCD remote, which is installed right in this slot. And you may see some empty space, empty slots. For now, it's reserved for some new features, some new functionalities, and extension models. Maybe it will be channels extension, maybe some other interfaces. So once it's introduced, we will let you know immediately. And as a part of this modular structure, modular idea of the system, you may see GPS GLONASS receiver, which is included in any packages, and this optional microphone. It's also available available in price list. You may get used and order it as well. And here you may see this brief comparison table of the delivery sets, packages of the both models. The same table is available at our website, and you may easily compare. The main difference are in two-way LCD remote and the radio interface, which is included in B9 and not available, but can be optionally added in AS9. And two transponders, which we call tags in AS9, and one Bluetooth tag is available in B9. All the remaining functionality is the same. All are equipped with the 4G LTE. Of course, all digital interfaces, GPS, GLONASS receiver, buzzer, and so on. Well, now take a look at this nice picture. We would like to discuss and clarify for you all the point of using of peripherals of the accessories compatible with the Gen 7 modular platform, and in fact it's the same for the current 6th generation systems, E series and S series. Let's begin with the radio interface. The two-way LCD remote, which is included in the B9 Pro series, can be optionally added with the one-way remote. If anybody wants to have this one, you may order it in your stock and offer to your clients. Actually, it's something like a Bluetooth transponder, because functionality is very similar. You may lock, unlock, arm, disarm, and you may use any of these remotes and as an authorization text authorization transporter. Another one interesting device is R7. It's one of our latest device. This is a relay model, which is used for either engine blocking. It has two independent relays with the full group of contacts. It's low current relays, mainly dedicated for blocking some sensors like camshaft, crankshaft, and so on. And it also has a lot of configurable channels, 7 outputs and 2 inputs, which are fully programmable in our Starline Master software. And the main difference of this relay is that it has no any radio interface. It's fully controlled with the digital Starline bus, fully wired, fully digital, fully secured, no any interference, and you may use it as a channel extension. And please be noted and think about using of this relay in your projects. Now let's talk about these Bluetooth peripherals. Of course, you still may register pair smartphones with the Bluetooth and Bluetooth transponders. You may see these figures. So up to 4 smartphones and up to 5 Bluetooth transponders can be paired in the main unit and used with any of customer family on the company drivers and so on. And you all know about these 2 convenient wireless relays, R6 series, R6 Echo, and just R6. These relays are still available, can be paired with the main unit of the 7th generation, and you may see up to 4 relays can be used. No matter 3 Echo or 1 R6, 2 and 2, it's up to you. And the last one is our wireless sensor with a read sensor and with the accelerometer inside. You may see that with the latest firmware updates, you may pair and get use of the 8 sensors. In fact, some of you know you may register up to 10 devices because Bluetooth Stack has 10 cells for these sensors, but in your daily life, in your projects, only 8 sensors will be active. And another one, very important notice. Some of you remember your recent trials and a lot of questions arising with it. Please be noted that up to only 8 Bluetooth devices can be used at the same time, simultaneously. What it means, when you paired up to 8 sensors, but you already have 2 tags, for example, on 1 smartphone registered, and all are in touch, in connections, so you must deduct these 3 devices from 8, and you may get use of only 5 sensors at the same time. That's an important point you have to be aware and explain to your partners, to your customers. So up to 8 devices are in a constant connection and operable with the main unit. Well, next slide. Okay, and here we can see this nice picture of a north map And here we would like to show you in this brief way the main countries, regions, continents where this SIM modem can be used, where these 7th generation systems must be well operable in the local networks. Here you may see all the bands supported by this modem. So please always be noted and always talk with your remote customers from your dealers from other countries, and always ask which bands are supported in their region. So you may see that these 5 bands of 4G LTE are covering, let's say, most part of the regions on our planet, except for, you may see, United States, Mexico, and some regions of South America and Africa. 3G, please be noted that we didn't colored all the regions with all the available bands. So in fact 3G is crossing most countries of Europe and Russia, and for example 4G GPRS in fact is fully operable in most of Europe, in Canada, as I know. We just didn't filled all these regions with all the 3 colors. So in fact, if you do not see on this map 2G GPRS, it doesn't mean that it's not available. It's available mainly everywhere, but except of these gray territories of United States and so on. We may share you this slide with the map, and I will type you a website with a very convenient search of available bands, and just want you to be very careful with this point when you supply this system to different regions and different continents. Well, so now I finished the first part of the presentation. Now we will take a look at your questions and try to answer most of them, and then continue with the second part when we review the newest features available both in this generation and in our latest 6th generation systems with the latest firmware installed.
Thank you, Dmitry. For this moment, we do not have any questions. Seems like you are a good.
Okay. We shall.
Very good.
Okay. We shall collect the questions and try to answer most of them later. So now I give you a word, and please describe which particular features we have in these systems and the latest firmware.
Thank you. So please, if you have any questions, type it to our chat, and we will answer all of them. And now I will show you share my screen with Starline Master. And here I will I want to talk about some new features which are available in our systems. Last our presentation was more than 1 year ago, so we have some new features. First of the feature, we added some options for analog engine blocking in immobilizer mode. So we will type in the search field of StarLine Master. We will type immobilizer. And here we can find engine blocking in immobilizer mode at general settings. Here is this setting in general settings, engine blocking in immobilizer mode. We can activate blocking by parking brake release or by shifting from parking gear position. This means that in immobilizer mode, with all disabled, engine will be blocked after movement detection. So after triggering motion sensor. I hope you can see my screen. Should be okay. Okay. So thank you, colleagues. If we enable by parking brake in immobilizer mode, engine will be blocked immediately after parking brake disabled, or by shifting from parking position of automatic transmission. This can help us to avoid movement. For example, if we use immobilizer mode by factory buttons pin code, if the driver forgets to enter the pin code and shift position from parking to drive, engine will stop immediately without driving, without movement. So this is very convenient. Please use it. It's in general settings. You can use immobilizer as a search word to find it. Next feature is dashcam. Dashcam, DVR, digital video recorder. Dashcam at general settings, almost at the bottom, we have a section of settings for dashcam control. First of all, we enable or disable dashcam control from server or mobile application. This means if we activate this setting, user will have a button in his mobile application to activate dashcam. Even if the car is security is on, car is armed, he can send a command from mobile application and activate his dashcam. Dashcam will work for 5 minutes in this setting. Next string is setting for dashcam work. We can also activate dashcam until disarming. So send a command to activate, to turn on the dashcam, and it will record video until you come and disarm the StarLine unit. Next, delay in minutes to shut down dashcam after ignition off. So while you are driving, ignition is on, and once the ignition is on, system enables dashcam. And when you finish your trip, you disable ignition, and dashcam works for 1 minute or until you arm system. If you arm it faster than 1 minute, it will shut down immediately. But if you need some dashcams to work for some time, you can set this time here up to 6 hours. Switch dashcam on when disarming, so it will enable it will activate dashcam not by ignition but by disarming, by disarm command. Monitor main battery. This means that dashcam has a rather big consumption. Usually it's something like 1 ampere, and it can discharge your car battery if you activate it too often. You can activate this option to monitor main battery and set a limit of voltage for dashcam operation. In this example, we have 11 volts. So once car battery voltage comes lower than 11 volts, dashcam will be off, and it will be impossible to activate dashcam from mobile application or from server. So in actual firmware, you can have a general settings dashcam control section. Next, our feature is internal buzzer, and you can set its work. Again, a general settings. You can disable internal buzzer, so it will not give any sound. It will be all totally disabled. Or you can set at what moment, what sound will it do. It can remind tag battery discharge. It can give some sound, some beeps if entered invalid authorization code. It can give a sound each time you press valid button, give sound disarming, give some sound if correct authorization code entry. Buzzer sound reminder in immobilizer mode. If you use immobilizer mode, it can remind you to enter authorization code by factory buttons, or to search for a tag if you use a tag for immobilizer mode. It can give sound each time when you turn ignition on, and will give sounds until you enter correct authorization code. It may give sounds when parking brake release, automatic transmission parking shift off, or brake pedal press. So you can set one of them or all of them. Use it as you prefer. It's internal embedded buzzer inside of the main unit of STARLINE Gen 7. Next, our feature is related to our CAN software, CAN firmware. As Dmitry said, we have 3 CAN bus and 4 lean buses. This allows us to add some to read some additional data from digital bus of the car. Here at channel set CAN, you can find low beam and high beam. We can activate it and read the headlight status. For example, in some countries, installers asked us to have an opportunity of high beam status reading. They use some output. Let's call it. Let's use X1 first output and call it. It's function not set, and we can type some, for example, lamp. We will connect this wire to additional headlights or additional LED lamps on the roof or somewhere at the front or in front of the car, some additional lights. And we need it to work together with high beam of the car. We can type a program, add a program. Don't forget to enable all programs you need to mark it. As an event, we can use state of vehicle and high beam. High beam from CAN on. This means this event will happen when high beam is on. As an action, we will use flexible analog outputs, our output to the lamp, and we will on it. But don't forget to disable the lamp. We need not only activate it, we need to deactivate it also. So we will abort this action at state of vehicle, headlights, or high beam, disable. Program action will look like this. Flexible analog outputs, relay our output to the lamp on, and abort at if high beam, disable. Done. So this small program can activate additional lamps together with high beam of the car without any connections to the high beam, to the headlights of the car, to factory headlights. Also here we can see seat belt status, seat belts status. We can use it also in a flexible logic. We can use events state of vehicle. We can use seat belt state become active, for example. Or we can use it for additional reminder. For example, we can use external commands. Excuse me, not external commands, auxiliary options. Vehicle speed, and became more, for example, 20 kilometers per hour. Auxiliary options, vehicle speed became more 20. And condition, state of vehicle, seat belt inactive. So driver does not use seat belt. It's not safe enough. And in actions, we can use indication buzzer in the main unit, our new buzzer built in, on at maximum volume, give a lot of impulses and some active states, some delays between these impulses. So at the maximum volume, 16 impulses, each impulse will be 20.5 seconds, and pause between impulses will be 4.5 seconds. And we will stop our notification sound in two cases. First case, seat belt became active, so it's now it's safe to drive. Or state of vehicle ignition, ignition disable. So it means that our driver stopped the engine, does not drive, and it's safe enough not to use seatbelt when the engine is stopped. So in this case, we can add reminder for seatbelt. Another case of seatbelt some installers use, they use seatbelt as a status for engine blocking to make drive safe. They use state of vehicle, ignition, I lost ignition. Here ignition on, and seatbelt is not active, not fastened. They use flexible analog outputs, some relay, for example, built-in relay, which cuts starter, and activate this relay, activate it until seatbelt became active or ignition is off. State of vehicle, ignition, disable. So driver comes into the car, tries to start the engine without seat belt, and starter does not work because relay X11 cuts the starter. Then he fastens seat belt, relay disables, and driver is able to start the engine. This additional blocking also helps your customers to make safe driving. Next additional feature, we have external button by CAN. You can check this status, and the button we read at can.starline.ru website. On the most of cars, it's a button outside the car on the trunk, a button to open the trunk. Usually we can read it by CAN. And here in the search field, we can type external button by CAN bus at general settings. Here is this setting, function of external button by CAN at general settings. We can use it as door handle sensor, as trunk handle sensor, or door handle sensor arming and disarming separately. What does it mean? First, door handle sensor, it's a button to arm and disarm the whole security system if the tag is visible. Trunk handle sensor is a button to open the trunk if the tag is visible. And separate arming and disarming is separately arm or only disarm when the tag is visible. We can use it, for example, as a door handle sensor, and we can allow to enter PIN code by a door handle sensor. If we enable this, your customer will be able to enter emergency deactivation PIN code, 4 digits, using door handle sensor, external button. So he can come to a car from outside, come to a trunk, press 3 times a button on the trunk to activate the system, and one by one enter 4 digits of PIN code. We have a video with this demonstration of this option on our YouTube channel, and we can show it you someone later. So it's external button. Next, and the last for this moment, is magnetic sensors. As Dmitry said, we have our magnetic sensor magnetic sensor MS06BT. We can use up to 8 Bluetooth devices at the same time. We can register to the system, pair to the main unit a lot of devices, but at the same time, Starline will work only with 8 devices. Don't forget, 8 devices, 7 devices, such as relays, tags, and magnetic sensors. Total 7. And the 8th one always should be a smartphone. So there is always a socket for smartphone. It means that you can use only 7 Bluetooth magnetic sensors, and always there will be 1 slot for smartphone. Or you can use 6 magnetic sensors and 1 Bluetooth tag, and also will be available 1 slot for the smartphone. You can use no smartphone and still 7 Bluetooth magnetic sensors and empty slot for smartphone. Second point, don't forget, if you pair 7 magnetic sensors and your customer does not use smartphone as a tag, when he will come to a car with a tag, system will be connected to the same 7 magnetic sensors. It won't be able to connect to a tag until it lost connection with one of sensors. So 7 devices and a smartphone. Total 8 devices. Slot for a smartphone is also always available. So regarding settings for magnetic sensor, we can type in a search field magnetic. We have 2 options. First, to turn on alarm by Bluetooth magnetic sensor triggering in ARM mode. It's in general settings. And the second one is accelerometer of Bell magnetic sensor. It's settings sensor. First one, in general settings, turn to alarm by Bell magnetic sensor triggering. This option activates or deactivates, enables or disables triggering alarm by magnetic part of our sensor. So magnet disappeared, triggers alarm in armed mode when security is on. And at settings sensors, we have also magnetic sensor. Here we enable or disable accelerometer in BLE magnetic sensor. Accelerometer works as a movement sensor and also as a shock sensor. For example, if you connect, if you install magnetic sensor to some part outside the car and someone tries to move it, accelerometer will help you. You can use not only factory logic, also you can use flexible logic for magnetic sensors. We have section BLE sensor, BLE magnetic sensor, BLE, excuse me, please. Bluetooth magnetic sensor, accelerometer, triggering, BLE sensor zone, reset or triggered. So triggered means magnet away, and reset means magnet close. We can connection with BLE sensor with any sensor appeared or disappeared. So connected to BLE sensor or disconnected to sensor, but any of sensors. If you use 6 sensors, it will this event will happen on each sensor disappeared, or a magnetic sensor with a discharged battery appeared. The same conditions with magnetic sensors and zone triggering. And at actions, we also have Bluetooth magnetic sensors. We can use ignoring of accelerometer. For example, we can disable accelerometer for 30 seconds after arming, for example. And the same triggering zone. We can enable ignoring or disable ignoring. For example, we can disable reading magnetic zone from mobile application, or we can, for example, disable it when you give a command to open the trunk. And maybe this can have influence to a magnetic sensor. And here you can use flexible logic to enable ignoring, and after some events, disable ignoring. Don't forget to disable ignoring, or otherwise the system will ignore it till the main unit reset or restart of the main unit. So for the moment, it's all from my part. Dmitry, please connect to us. Okay, we can have a question regarding BLE devices, and we are working with our R&D, with our developers. We are working on a solution of of the limit of 8 devices. We can.
Yes.
We are trying to expand it.
Yes, Dima, thank you very much for your part of the presentation and detailed description of the latest features. Thanks for clarifying the point of compatible Bluetooth devices operable at the same moment. Yes, up to 7 Bluetooth devices, and one is reserved for the smartphone. And you guys most of all I think know that most of the latest updates for iPhone, iOS system, and Android mainly shuts down most of the Bluetooth connection in background. So please please warn your customers, your partners, and that once they want to use a smartphone as a transponder, as a tag. So in most cases, they will be required to activate, to unlock their smartphone, activate Bluetooth connection, for example, launching Starline app, Starline main app, or Starline key, and then go to the car and press authorization. And yes, we have only one question about possible extension of the Bluetooth stack. Thanks, Zoran. Yes, actually we have such plans, and to be honest, we had it before, and you remember our challenge with the last 2 and 25 updates. Initially we planned extension up to, as I remember, up to 20 device operable at the same moment, but we met some issues with it, some issues with the smartphone operation in this version. So we at the moment we limited it's up to 8 Bluetooth devices simultaneously, but of course we are working on this point, and we expect in next updates we're gonna extend it in more to more amount of devices operable at the same moment. Do we have any other questions on the topic of this meeting today? Welcome, asking. I guess presentation, yes, everything is clear. Presentation is detailed enough. By our tradition, in the end of the meeting, we welcome any other questions related to any Starline functionality. But at this point, we're going to stop recording of this presentation of this meeting, and then we shall proceed with answering your other general questions.